In the high, rugged highlands of modern-day Ethiopia and Eritrea, a remarkable story lies etched into the very landscape. It is a story of a great power, a civilization that once stood shoulder to shoulder with the giants of its age: Rome, Persia, China. Yet, for many its name barely registers. This is the tale of Aksum, an African superpower whose memory has been veiled by the mists of time. Imagine a kingdom so powerful that it minted its own currency, a realm so connected that its ports bustled with ships from as far away as India and the Mediterranean. The clues to its former glory are still there, for those who know where to look. Giant single-stone monuments known as stelae pierce the sky like ancient skyscrapers, silent testaments to a forgotten engineering genius. The foundations of grand palaces and tombs litter the earth, whispering of kings and queens who commanded immense respect across the ancient world. This was not a peripheral kingdom on the fringes of civilization. Aksum was a vital, pulsating heart of global trade and culture, a beacon of innovation and power that shone brilliantly for over 1,000 years. It's a detective story on a grand scale, piecing together the life of a civilization that was once described by a Persian prophet as one of the 4 greatest empires on Earth. And so, we begin our exploration. We will travel back in time to a world where the Red Sea was a bustling highway of commerce and ideas. We will stand in the shadow of its incredible monuments and try to comprehend the skill and ambition required to create them. We will witness the birth of a unique culture, a fusion of African and South Arabian influences that produce something entirely new and powerful. The story of Aksum deserves to be told, not just as a piece of African history, but as a crucial part of our shared global heritage. Every great empire has its genesis, a moment when the right combination of people, resources, and geography aligns to create something extraordinary. For Aksum, this story begins around 400 BCE in the fertile highlands of the Horn of Africa. The region was already home to a sophisticated culture known as Damt, which had its own script and complex society. Migrants from Saba, a powerful kingdom in southern Arabia, modern-day Yemen, began to cross the narrow strait of the Red Sea. They were not conquerors in the traditional sense, but traders and settlers, bringing with them their architectural styles, religious beliefs, and their written language. This meeting of cultures proved to be a powerful catalyst. The local Aga peoples, with their deep knowledge of the land and established agricultural practices, merged with the newcomers. Out of this fusion, a new identity and a new power began to coalesce. By the 1st century CE, the city of Aksum had emerged as the undisputed heart of this burgeoning kingdom. Its location was strategic, nestled in a fertile basin high in the mountains, safe from coastal raiders yet close enough to control the vital trade routes leading down to the sea. The foundations of a future superpower were being carefully laid. The early Aksumite kings were ambitious and visionary. They understood that their kingdom's prosperity depended on controlling the flow of goods from the African interior to the bustling maritime lanes of the Red Sea. They began a systematic expansion, extending their influence southwards to tap into the sources of gold, ivory, and exotic animals, and eastwards to seize control of key port cities like Adulis. This port, situated on the Eritrean coast, would become Aksum's gateway to the world, a vibrant, cosmopolitan hub where merchants from Alexandria, Persia, and India haggled over precious cargo. The Aksumites developed advanced farming techniques using dams and terraces to maximize the productivity of their highland environment. This agricultural surplus supported a growing population, a powerful standing army, and a class of skilled artisans and administrators. Their early society was a complex tapestry of farmers, soldiers, priests, and merchants, all revolving around a divine king who was seen as the intermediary between the people and their gods. The seeds of greatness, planted centuries before, were now beginning to bear magnificent fruit, heralding the dawn of Aksum's golden age. At the height of its power, from the 3rd to the 6th centuries CE, Aksum was an economic titan. Its wealth was not built on conquest alone but on its masterful control of trade. The kingdom was perfectly positioned to act as the middleman between the Roman Empire and the distant lands of India and beyond. Imagine the port of Adulis, its docks piled high with goods from across the known world. From the African interior came a river of treasures: ivory tusks, gleaming gold dust, frankincense, myrrh, rhinoceros horns, elephants, apes. These were the raw materials of empire, and Aksum held the key. In the other direction, ships arrived laden with the finished products of the Mediterranean and the East. Textiles of fine silk, cotton, intricately crafted glassware from Egypt and Syria, tools, weapons of sharpened steel, barrels of wine, olive oil from the vineyards of Italy, and gleaming brass and copper. Aksum was not merely a passive conduit, its merchants were savvy negotiators and its rulers understood the principles of international commerce. They levied taxes and tariffs on all goods passing through their territory, filling the royal coffers with a staggering amount of wealth. This economic power gave Aksum a seat at the table of global superpowers. A testament to this economic sophistication was Aksum's currency. In a move that demonstrated both its wealth and its ambition, King Endubis, around 270 CE, began minting the first indigenous coinage in sub-Saharan Africa. These coins, made of gold, silver, and bronze, were not just for internal use. They were designed for international trade, bearing inscriptions in Greek, alongside the local Ge'ez script. The gold coins were carefully weighted to match the standard of the Roman aureus, making them easily exchangeable across the Roman world. Holding an Aksumite coin today is like holding a piece of that globalized past, a tangible link to a world connected by the universal language of commerce. This incredible network of trade did more than just bring wealth. It brought ideas, technologies, and people. Obelisks was a melting pot of cultures, where sailors, merchants, and diplomats from dozens of different nations lived and worked side by side. This constant exchange fostered a cosmopolitan atmosphere within the Aksumite kingdom, making its elite citizens aware of the wider world and its complex politics. The kingdom's power was so respected that Roman emperors sought alliances with Aksumite kings, and travelers from distant lands wrote with awe about the order and prosperity they witnessed. Aksum was, in every sense, a vital and indispensable crossroads of the ancient world. The immense wealth flowing into Aksum from its trade networks funded a vibrant culture. The capital, Aksum, became a magnificent metropolis built to project power. Cosmas Indicopleustes called it a place of wonders with grand multi-story palaces for the king and nobles. Castle palaces, architectural marvels, stone wood mud brick with intricate carvings. Palace interiors, finest imported goods, silk cushions, Roman glassware, local treasures, gold ivory, life for the elite, luxury and refinement. They feasted on rich foods, drank imported wines, wore elaborate gold jewelry. Archaeology, beautiful craftsmanship, delicate necklaces, intricate earrings, heavy bracelets inlaid with precious stones. Aksum valued knowledge and literacy. The Ge'ez script recording history, administering the state, creating religious and literary texts. A lasting written tradition. Art blended local and international influences. Pottery with geometric patterns. Pottery with animal motifs. Metalwork, coins, jewelry, intricate bronze objects, iron objects. Influences: South Arabia, Egypt, Greco-Roman world, but distinct Aksumite character. Religion intertwined with identity, pantheon of God's king as chief priest and divine representative on earth. A cultural tapestry, empire's bedrock, providing a shared identity for a diverse population, a framework for social and political life. Splendor of the capital, skill of artisans, knowledge of scribes, the imperial project. Aksum, powerful, wealthy, culturally distinct and respected. Achievements show a society with self-importance and vision, a truly African civilization creating a golden age. Of all Aksum's achievements, none are more visually stunning or mysterious than its giant stelae. These are not just simple pillars of stone, they're, monolithic marvels. Single, solid pieces of granite quarried and erected by a people with an extraordinary understanding of engineering and logistics. The largest of them, the Great Stele, now lying broken on the ground, would have stood over 33 meters tall and weighed an estimated 520 tons. This actually makes it one of the largest single pieces of stone ever shaped and erected by human hands in the ancient world. Even the famous obelisk of Aksum, which was taken to Rome by Mussolini's forces and only returned in 2005, stands at an impressive 24 meters and weighs 160 tons. They are not inscribed with historical records like Egyptian obelisks, but are instead intricately carved to resemble multi-story buildings. They feature false doors at the base, and detailed representations of windows and timber beams ascending to the top. It is now widely believed that these stelae served as grand tombstones or markers for the underground burial chambers of Aksumite royalty and nobility. They were colossal symbols of power and prestige, designed to project the status of the deceased into the afterlife and ensure their memory endured for eternity on Earth. The sheer logistics of creating these stelae really boggle the mind. First, the massive granite blocks had to be hewn from a quarry several kilometers away from the city. Then came the monumental task of transportation. It is theorized that hundreds, perhaps thousands of workers, along with teams of elephants and oxen, would have been needed to drag these monoliths across the landscape on rollers. The final challenge was erection, a delicate and dangerous operation requiring immense coordination, ropes, ramps, and a deep practical knowledge of physics. These stelae represent more than just funerary markers. They are a profound expression of the Aksumite worldview. They reach for the heavens, connecting the earthly realm of the living with the celestial realm of the gods and the ancestral spirits. They are a physical manifestation of the kingdom's ambition, a desire to create something permanent and awe-inspiring that would rival the wonders of any other empire. Standing in the northern Stele Park today, surrounded by these silent stone giants, one cannot help but feel a sense of reverence for the ingenuity, determination, and spiritual conviction of the people who raised them so many centuries ago. In the middle of the 4th century CE, a profound transformation swept through the Aksumite kingdom. It would redefine identity and destiny. This was the adoption of Christianity. The story begins with 2 young Syrian Christians, Frumentius and Odysseus, shipwrecked on the Red Sea. They were taken to the royal court in Aksum. Their education and integrity impressed the king. Frumentius became a trusted advisor-tutor to the young crown prince Izana. Through this personal connection, the seeds of a new faith were planted in the empire's heart. When Izana ascended the throne, he made a monumental decision. Around 330 CE, he declared Christianity the state religion. Aksum became one of the world's earliest Christian empires, preceding Rome's official adoption. We can trace the conversion in Aksum's coinage. Izana's early coins show pre-Christian symbols: disc, sun, crescent, moon. Later coins are stamped with the cross. This change, preserved in gold and silver, is a historical record, a public declaration across trade routes. The adoption of Christianity had far-reaching consequences. It aligned Aksum with the Roman Empire, strengthening diplomatic ties, creating shared identity across the Red Sea. Within Aksum, the faith spurred a cultural renaissance. The Bible was translated into Ge'ez, standardizing the script, producing early Christian texts in an African language. Monasteries were established, centers of learning art manuscript production. Often carved into remote cliffs, these institutions guarded Aksum's Christian heritage for centuries. The new faith merged with the old, forming a unique Christianity still practiced by the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, the Eritrean Orthodox Tewahedo Church. The Ark of the Covenant, believed to be brought by Menelik I, son of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, became central to the faith. The conversion was a deep societal shift, infusing life from art, architecture, law, and identity. It was a pivotal moment that ensured Aksum's legacy long after its power faded. No empire, no matter how powerful, lasts forever. For Aksum, the decline was slow and gradual: environmental factors, political factors, economic factors. Mid-6th century, first signs of trouble. After invading southern Arabia to protect fellow Christians, Aksum became overextended. The costly campaign drained the royal treasury and manpower. Then, the plague of Justinian arrived, likely via bustling trade routes. It decimated the population and tore at social structures and the economy. The rise of Islam in the 7th century delivered a decisive blow. Arab armies swept across the Middle East and North Africa, seizing control of the Red Sea, Aksum's artery of trade and wealth. Early relations were peaceful. Aksum had offered refuge to Muhammad's followers. But geopolitics had changed. Aksum was cut off from Mediterranean trading partners. The port of Adulis was destroyed. Maritime highways fell silent. Gold, silk, and ideas stopped flowing. Isolated and impoverished, Aksum turned inward. Power shifted south from Aksum into rugged, defensible highlands. Environmental pressures played a role. Centuries of intensive farming, deforestation for iron smelting, and possible climate change caused soil erosion and falling yields around the old capital. The land could no longer sustain the empire. The kingdom retreated to consolidate, to survive in a changed world. By the 8th or 9th century, Aksum ceased as a global power. Coinage stopped, palaces fell silent, the name faded abroad, but Aksum did not vanish. It transformed. Its politics became more feudal. Its cultural and religious heart moved south, laying foundations for medieval Ethiopian kingdoms. Aksum's light had not been snuffed out, it simply receded, glowing in the isolated highlands of the Horn of Africa. In the grand tapestry of human history, some threads shine more brightly than others. The story of Aksum is one of those brilliant threads, and its importance today is greater than ever. It serves as a powerful reminder that our understanding of the past is often incomplete. For too long, the narrative of antiquity has been centered on the Mediterranean and the Near East, creating a geographically and culturally limited picture. Aksum shatters this narrow view, presenting a sub-Saharan African empire that was, in its time, a peer of Rome and Persia. Its story enriches and complicates our view of the ancient world, making it more accurate and far more interesting. To study Aksum is to appreciate the depth and diversity of African history. It is a story of indigenous innovation, not just passive reception of outside influence. The Aksumites developed their own script, pioneered distinctive architectural forms, and built a sophisticated economic system long before many other regions. They were agents of their own destiny, shaping their world through trade, diplomacy, and faith. For a continent often defined by outsiders, Aksum is a source of immense pride and a counter-narrative, showcasing homegrown greatness, complexity, and global engagement. Aksum's story holds lessons that resonate in our interconnected age. It was built on global trade, a cosmopolitan society connected to Africa, Europe, and Asia. It also shows how vulnerable such connections can be, as shifting trade routes and changing political landscapes can lead to isolation and decline. Aksum's history is a case study in the rise and fall of nations, the interplay of commerce and culture, and the enduring power of faith to preserve identity amid collapse. These themes are as relevant today as they were 1,500 years ago. Ultimately, Aksum matters because it is a story of human achievement, ambition, and resilience. It is the story of people who carved a mighty empire into a rugged landscape, who raised stones to the heavens, who embraced a faith that still sustains millions. Unveiling this forgotten superpower is not just correcting the record, it is reclaiming a vital piece of our collective heritage. By bringing Aksum out of the shadows and into the light, we gain a fuller, richer, more truthful understanding of our past, and we pay tribute to a civilization that earned its place among the ancient world's greatest.